X-Men's Dark Phoenix Saga. There's some stories in the X-Men, you know, series that really, tell they're quintessential X-Men stories, like the Dark Phoenix, the death of Jean Grey, the Inferno, the Fall of the Mutants. All these things are really good X-Men stories, and the Dark Phoenix is one of those good stories. So let's dive in. Welcome back to Longbox Diving, where we explore comics and story arcs pulled from the Longbox. Now we're talking about Uncanny X-Men Dark Phoenix Saga, right? So this starts in issue 129 of the Uncanny X-Men. Is back in 1979. It was written by Chris Claremont. John Byrne did the art. Terry Austin, inker, and Bob Sheridan, a colorist. And so one of the quintessential X-Men stories of all time to me. It's been a long time since I've read this. So I haven't read it through in a while. So this is going to be good. I'll read through it, review it with you guys, and kind of go through this quintessential X-Men story. It was good. So we start out on Muir Island, and the team consists, this is not the first team, not quite the second team. It's kind of the next team after that. We got Cyclops, Jean Grey, Colossus, Storm, Wolverine, and Nightcrawler is basically the team. And they're on Muir Island, and they're talking to Banshee and Dr. Moria and Jimi Hendrix. Now, Banshee, I think he's lost his powers. I think he and Moria are together. I'm not sure if they're married, but they're definitely together. They kind of, hey, Jimi Hendrix, multiple men, you want to come back with us? Nah, I'm just going to stay around here. I'm a typical farm boy. I don't need a big city life and all. It's adventure stuff. I'm just going to stay here. So they say their goodbyes. They get on the Quinjet, or the Blackbird, not Quinjet. They're on Avengers, Blackbird, and they head back toward New York. Now, while on the plane, Jean Grey starts getting a headache, and we see that Mastermind from the Hellfire Club is actually manipulating her brain. He is in there with some type of illusion, and he is twisting her mind to believe what he wants her to believe. And the thing he's trying to twist it to is that they are married, and they're back about 200 years ago. Now, this kind of thing has happened before, I think in X-Men 125, 126, where he's kind of made her believe that she's back in time about 200 years back. And that he is her husband. His name is Jason Weingard. He's a Knight of the Realm. And making her believe that he's the most magnificent man you ever know, because she's got these mutton chops and whatnot, weird stuff. So Jean Grey just thinks she's in love with him, and they're on a boat, and they're sailing to the new land, and she's really twisting her brain really hard. Now we know that the Phoenix Force is within her, and that when she died and came back with the Phoenix Force, Professor X helped put some guards around her brain. The Shi'ar were involved, and she was benevolent, and she helped save a civilization, etc. But they put some mental blocks around her brain to block off her access to the complete force, because it is a cosmic force. This is not just something a human mind should be able to control on its own. But here's a dude here now with illusions twisting her mind and her emotions in such a way that this is going to have some bad consequences. Now, when she sees her teammates like Scott, she doesn't see him as Scott. She sees him as a captain of the boat, or some colonial or something like that. And so she's finally able to break out of it, right? And they have this little conversation. I've done a lot of thinking since your death in Antarctica, and I haven't much liked some of the things I've learned about myself. And Scott saying, I love you, and I was sad when I shut off a part of my heart and my brain when you died, and now you're back, and so I feel like whole again, and all that lovey-dovey, relationship stuff. And then they get home, and they figure out there's somebody in the house, right? So they all come busting into the house, and there is Professor X. Now, apparently Professor X had been gone for a while. I'm not sure exactly where he was or where he had been. Of course, it's been a while since I read it and the ones before this, so I'm not sure where he was actually. So since he was gone, Colossus has been taking over the team. He's been running the team, managing everything, doing all this kind of stuff, teaching the school, all that, and now Professor X is back. And then we're walking through, and Wolverine comes storming out of the danger. I'm not some kid. I'm not some amateur. I don't need some chrome dome telling me how to do my job. He is the best he is at what he does. He doesn't need Professor X sitting there telling him what to do. And so he goes in, and Scott's like, oh, I got to talk to Professor X. Here's my mentor, and my mentor is now coming back thinking he's back in charge. He's really not. But yeah, Professor X is really critical of Cyclops, really critical of the team, really critical of everything they're doing, and how they're acting, how they're working as a team, and all this kind of stuff. And Scott's like, hey, you can't be like this. You weren't here. You're not in charge. You can't just come back and do your own thing. Now, I don't know exactly what's going on with Professor X. Again, I haven't read before this in a while, so he just seems off. Maybe it's more way back because of the new X-Men Hickman line. No, just kidding. But there's definitely something going on. And now Professor X notices there's two new mutant signatures on the map, on Cerebro. So he's going to split the team up, and he's going to go with one group, and he's going to send Cyclops and Jean Grey and Nightcrawler to go get the other mutant. Now, we've noticed in this that the Hellfire Club, which the Hellfire Club is like a club for rich people, and normally like Warren Worthington is a member of the Hellfire Club. It's just a rich club thing, but their inner core is made up of mostly mutants. I think there's one cyborg, and that mutant team has their own plan, own thing. They're doing something weird, and they really kind of are taking it to the X-Men for some reason. Not sure yet why, but we see that Weingard's there, as we know, as Mastermind, and that there's the 4 suits of like playing cards lined out, and then we see Frost come in. Now, Frost is the White Queen, and she is one of the ones that's going, and these Hellfire Club has actually been monitoring the X-Men. They can actually see their computer systems. They've hacked it. They can see the Cerebro. They can see the new mutant signatures. Now, Frost is planning to head to one of the signatures and pick that person up. And she's going to, as we know, she's going to start the school, the Hellions, and she's going to have her own school in Massachusetts. So probably what she's trying to do right here. And then we go over to Chicago. We see Kitty Pryde, right? So Kitty Pryde is headed home. She's 13, 14 years old, not feeling good, getting a blistering headache, not feeling well, running a little bit of fever. And so, see Miss Frost is there. Now, Miss Frost is there talking to her parents, trying to get her to come to the Hellion school, But Kitty's like, she's weird. She's like wacko. Definitely don't want to be around this woman. So she heads upstairs, and it's like throbbing pain in her head, and she can't take it. And she closes her eyes, and next thing she knows, she lands on the floor in the living room. She had sunk right through the bed, through the ceiling, through the floor, down into on the floor. And Miss Frost and her parents walking right there, like, "What are you doing here on the floor?" "Well, I came down to get some water, and I tripped." So Miss Frost heads out, and as she's heading out, Professor X and Cyclops and Wolverine and Storm start. Not Cyclops, Colossus, Wolverine, and Storm start coming up. And of course, they pass each other, and there's definitely, Wolverine's like, something's definitely off with this woman. Something's off. So they go in, and they start talking about the school that Professor X has, and they invite Kitty out for some ice cream. So, they go out, they go to the ice cream parlor, and of course, Kitty is just like really fascinated with your X-Men, you're the heroes, that is so cool, and this and that, and then Wolverine and Wolverine's over there reading a penthouse with Colossus, right? He puts it away. The guy's, "Hey, you can't be reading that here. You got to go buy it. You can't be doing that." So, but they're in an ice cream parlor. It's kind of weird. But just then, 3 armored dudes comes crashing into the ice cream parlor. And we come to find out each of them seems to have an ability that counters one of the X-Men's ability. Like they've been really, really prepared for this. They are ready. They're countering everything. One has a force field. One has a flamethrower. One's able to cancel out the lightning and the wind. And so they kind of try to swap teams or swap who they're fighting, and they're able to bust those guys up. But just at the last moment, Frost comes in and mentally just knocks them all out, and they're down. So she gathers them up, throws them into the jet, the Hellfire jet, and they're like, "We're going to take them back to the Hellfire Club somewhere outside of Chicago. There's some base that she has or something." And they take off, and they're on their way, right? And so they strip them out of their uniforms. They don't want to have any tricks or anything in their, up their sleeve, or she's going to keep them telepathically sedated. But what she doesn't know is that Kitty was able to walk into the plane and that she's hiding there. But she knows, hey, they're out, and I'm like all there is. And she has no idea how to use her powers. She doesn't know how they work yet, and she is on the bad guys plane, headed out. So, yeah, yikes. So far, issue 129, Uncanny X-Men 129, pretty good. Man, this is great storytelling. The art is good. You've got stakes. The X-Men got beat. Beat. They were about to win, but they got beat by one person. There's intrigue. There's hacking, which back in 1979 is kind of weird but cool. So a lot of stuff going on. The next issue, issue 130, I think, is the introduction of Dazzler. So hopefully you enjoyed this review, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time in the Long Box.